Last time, I left you with a question. After everything, how much cash should you actually keep? You open your banking app and just look at the number sitting in savings. And you feel two things at once. A quiet fear that it's not enough, and a nagging sense that maybe it's just sitting there, doing nothing. Here's what almost nobody tells you. There is a right amount of cash to hold, a real number, and missing it in either direction quietly costs you. We treat a big pile of cash like the safest thing we own. Money in the bank, nothing can touch it. But a pile of cash is not automatically safe. Past a certain point, it's a slow, guaranteed loss you can't see happening. Give me 12 minutes and you'll walk away with the exact number for you and why the amount that keeps you safe is smaller than you fear and bigger than you'd guess. Let's do what we did before. Put two people in front of the same savings balance. You and someone who prices risk for a living. You look at that cash and feel one thing, safety. More of it feels like more safety. So the goal, quietly, becomes pile up as much as you can. They look at the same cash and ask a colder question. What is this money's job? Because to them, cash isn't good or bad. It's a tool with one specific task and a price for holding it. And this is the reframe that changes everything. Cash is insurance. It's the money that pays your life when your income stops. That's its job. And you don't buy more insurance than the thing you're insuring is worth. Nobody insures a $15,000 car for $200,000. That's not extra safety, it's just wasted money. Yet with cash, we do exactly that and call it being responsible. Here's the belief nearly everyone carries in. More cash equals more safe. Full stop. A fat savings account is proof you're doing life right. And it feels obviously true, because it used to be. For most of human history, a full store of food was the difference between surviving the winter and not. Your brain still runs that program. A big pile means you live. So keeping cash feels like survival itself. That instinct isn't stupid. It kept your ancestors alive. It just never learned one modern fact, that money left sitting still doesn't stay the same size. Because cash has a slow leak. And it's the kind of leak you never feel day to day, which is exactly why it's so easy to ignore. So let's price that leak honestly. The thing eating your cash is inflation, and right now it's running a little over 4% a year. What that means in plain terms, the same life that costs you $10,000 today will cost you about $10,400 a year from now. So money that just sits there buys a little less every single year. Now here's where most people quietly lose. The average checking account pays you almost nothing, about 1/3 of 1%. So park $10,000 there, and inflation shrinks what it can buy by around $400 in a year. Leave it for a decade, and you've quietly given up thousands in purchasing power without a single withdrawal. And here's why that loss is so easy to miss. The number on your screen never drops. $10,000 is still $10,000 next year. Nothing fell, nothing beeped. The loss hides inside prices going up, not your balance going down. That's the quiet part. You feel completely safe the entire time it's happening. And the fix for that first part is almost embarrassingly simple. A plain, high-yield savings account today pays about 4%, roughly matching inflation. Same money, same access, same safety. It just stops the bleed. So the first rule of holding cash is easy. Hold it somewhere that pays you. But even a high-yield account only treads water. It keeps up with rising prices, barely. It does not grow your wealth. And that's the second, bigger cost of a pile that's too big. Because that same money, invested in a broad basket of stocks over the long run, has historically grown about 7% a year after inflation. On $10,000, that's the difference between money that stands still and money that roughly doubles in a decade. So every extra dollar of cash beyond what you actually need isn't sitting there safe. It's sitting there falling behind, a slow, guaranteed cost, paid for a safety you're not even using. So how much do you actually need? This is where the number lives, and it isn't one number. It depends entirely on one thing, what you're insuring against. Let's walk 3 people. 1. A married couple, 2 steady paychecks, boring, stable jobs. If one loses work, the other still covers a lot of the bills. Their income is hard to knock out completely, so they insure lightly, about 3 months of expenses in cash. 2. A single person, One income, one rent, no backup. If that paycheck stops, everything stops. Their risk is higher, so their cushion is bigger, around 6 months of expenses. 3. Someone self-employed or a single earner for a whole family, with income that swings month to month. Their paycheck is the least predictable of all, so they hold the most, 9 to 12 months, sometimes more. And notice, none of them holds zero, and none of them holds everything. Even the couple with 2 rock-solid jobs keeps a few months, because life throws surprises that have nothing to do with a paycheck. And even the self-employed person, at some point, stops adding and starts investing. Everyone has a top and a bottom to that cushion. Same question, how much cash? 3 completely different right answers. Not because one person is smarter, but because they're insuring against different risks. The number was never universal. It's the size of your specific danger. And notice what this quietly ends. The idea of a magic round number. There is no correct $100,000 in cash. 100,000 is far too much for one person and not nearly enough for another. The dollar figure only means something once you know whose life it's insuring. But here's the part that flips the whole thing on its head. We've been asking how much cash is enough. The sharper question is, how much is too much? Because too much cash is a risk too, just a quieter one. And this is the danger your gut cannot see. It's trained to fear having too little. It has no alarm at all for having too much. So let's price it the way a professional would. Cash isn't safe or risky on its own. It's a tool with a job. Cover a set number of months of your life. Money doing that job is perfect. It should be there. But money piled up way beyond that job isn't extra safety. It's uninsured money. Money exposed to a risk you're choosing not to see. The guaranteed loss of buying power. Every year, forever. Your gut and the risk desk are counting 2 different things again. Your gut counts dollars. The number in the app never drops, so it feels safe. The professional counts what those dollars can buy. And that number falls every single year. So the person sitting on a giant cash pile to feel safe has quietly made a trade. They took a small, possible risk, that the market dips for a while, and swapped it for a large, certain one, that their money loses ground no matter what. They chose the guaranteed loss to avoid the possible one. And be honest about where the big pile really comes from. It's not a plan. It's a feeling. The same relief your ancestors felt looking at a full store of grain. That feeling is real. It's just not worth the thousands a year it quietly costs. Now here's the cost almost nobody puts a number on. Picture 2 savers, both careful, both proud. Each figured out their real cushion is about $24,000, 6 months of expenses. One holds exactly that. The other holds $80,000, just to feel extra safe. That extra $56,000 sitting in cash is losing around 4% of its buying power a year. That's roughly $2,200 quietly gone, every year, for a safety they will almost certainly never need. And that's before the bigger cost, what that money could have become. $56,000 invested for 20 years instead of parked is the difference between a nice cushion and a life-changing sum. Tens of thousands of dollars handed back for a feeling. But, and this matters, most people don't have that problem. They have the opposite one. Remember, less than half of Americans could cover a surprise $1,000 bill from savings at all. Most people aren't drowning in too much cash. They're one bad month from a credit card. So there are 2 ways to get this wrong, on opposite ends. Way too little, and one broken furnace becomes high-interest debt. Way too much, and you bleed buying power and growth for years. The test we're about to do fixes both. The whole game is landing in that middle band on purpose, instead of letting a feeling park you at one extreme or the other. Now, to be fair, sometimes a big pile of cash is exactly right, for a while. If you're about to buy a house or make a large purchase in the next year, that money should be in cash. It has a near-term job. If you're going through something unstable, a shaky job, a health scare, a business in transition, holding extra is smart. Your risk is temporarily higher, so your insurance should be too. And here's the one that matters most. If holding a little extra cash is the only reason you can stay calm and stay invested with the rest, then that extra is worth its cost. A slightly bigger cushion that stops you from selling in a panic pays for itself many times over. A big pile is only a mistake when it's permanent and unplanned. When money that has no job and no deadline just sits there for years, out of habit and fear, quietly falling behind. So here's the test. 3 questions, and you can answer them tonight. This is the number nobody hands you. Question 1. What are your essential monthly costs? Not your fun budget, the must-pays. Rent or mortgage, food, utilities, insurance, minimum payments. Add them up. Say it comes to $4,000 a month. Question 2. How fragile is your income? 2 steady paychecks, use 3 months. 1 income, use 6. Self-employed or the only earner, use 9 to 12. Pick your honest number of months. Multiply those 2, and that's your core cushion. $4,000 a month times 6 months is $24,000. Then add any known big expense coming in the next year. A new roof, a car, a move. That total is your number. Now the whole thing gets simple. That number goes in a high-yield savings account earning about 4%, where you can reach it in a day. That's your insurance, fully paid. And one warning on that cushion, don't get clever with it. This is the money that has to be there on your worst day, so it doesn't belong in stocks reaching for a bigger return or locked up where you can't touch it for months. Boring and reachable is the whole point. The cushion's job is to be there, not to grow. Everything below that number, you build it first, before anything else. And everything above it, that money has a different job. It should be invested and working, not sitting in the leak. Under the number, save. Over the number, invest. The number that keeps you safe was never the biggest pile you could gather. It's your monthly life, times the size of your risk. Answer those 2 questions, and the fear stops choosing for you.
A big pile of cash feels like the ultimate safety, but safety that quietly loses ground every year. For a rainy day that already has more than enough set aside isn't safety. It's just fear with a price tag. Hold exactly what your life needs, kept somewhere that pays you. Put the rest to work. That's not reckless. That's pricing the risk instead of hiding from it. But the moment you move that extra money out of cash and into the market, a new fear shows up. Because sooner or later, that market drops 10, 20%, and every part of you screams to pull it back to safety. Next time, I'll show you exactly what the people who price risk for a living do when the market falls, and why it's almost the opposite of what your gut is begging you to do.